I'm Kirby Allison. I'm excited to be back here in New York City. I'm standing outside the Petrossian Cafe and Boutique, one of my favorite places to visit whenever I'm here in New York City. They have some of the absolute best Finch pastries that are available, and we're going to walk inside and visit with my good friend Alex Petrossian and talk to him about caviar. Alex,
how are you?
Great to see you. Thanks for having me back at the boutique.
Thank you for coming, my friend.
So we're excited about, we're going to be talking about caviar and...
caviar and all our passion together.
All of our passions. Huh? Great, well let's go.
It's going to be fun.
Hi, I'm Kirby Allison. Today I'm here with Alexander Petrossian, Managing Director of Petrossian Caviar, and we're going to speak about one of my favorite topics, which is caviar. You know, caviar to me is so much a part of an elegant lifestyle and an experience. And you know, for the longest time I felt like caviar was completely inaccessible until I met Alex, who kind of opened up this world to me. And so today we're going to talk about, you know, Alex's background, his family business, and then most importantly we're going to talk about how to select and enjoy caviar. Alex, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. So good to see you.
So, you know, tell us a little bit about kind of your background. I mean, Petrossian is, you know,
first, caviar is my favorite topic too. So, so my family started in France in 1920. My dad kind of took over in the early 70s, 74, 75. And became the actual director, president in 79. I personally started around 2000, moved to New York in 2005, and you know, I was supposed to be here for 6 months to learn English. And I didn't get the English part, but I stayed, you know, it's been 15 years now, so...
all in New York.
Yeah, all in New York. You know, it's one of my favorite cities to be.
And so you and your wife are here now, and you have, you know, 2 children that are the same ages of, you know, Nathaniel and Paloma.
Yeah, pretty much. At a couple months apart. I think Nathaniel is a little older than Arthur, but not much. You know,
So how did your family get started in caviar? I mean, you know, going on 100 years, I mean, that's a long time in the business.
So we got started in caviar out of almost necessity. My grandfather and his brother, when they arrived in France, they were born in Armenia, and caviar was, you know, was not everywhere, but was you know, used and very often used by a lot of people. And the rise in France, it was a little bit unknown. It was not really something that the Parisian would have. And they were actually the first one to import caviar into France. So they started like this, and with a lot of help from different people, Petrossian kind of started to get people on board with caviar. And yeah, as you said, it's almost been 100 years, and it's been great. You know, we have an absolutely amazing client base, very interesting people that are very interested in our product. So you know, with customers like this, you can always only get better. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, much in the same way, you know, at the Hanger Project, I mean, you know, you guys have customers that are passionate about caviar, and so anyone that's consuming caviar is doing so, you know, really
out of passion. Because, you know, caviar is not like a beautiful watch that you can show off or a beautiful suit that you can... caviar is one of those ephemeral pleasure that, you know, you consume away. So you get your caviar, and what you have left is the memory of the evening or the moment you spend with your loved one. So, you know, my father always joked that we don't sell the caviar, we sell the memory that goes around it.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely an amazing business because it changes all the time. Caviar evolves, caviar mature. It's absolutely great. Absolutely great.
So talk to us a little bit about, you know, kind of the historical origin of caviar. I mean, back whenever your grandfather was getting started, I mean, it was, and before that was, you know, really regional, kind of in, you know,
it was around the Caspian Sea.
The Caspian Sea, okay. And but people also associate Russia. But then, you know, Iran, you know, has a history in caviar. So help us understand just kind of the geographical.
Well, all the countries around the Caspian Sea were known for caviar. So Iran, Russia, and all there's a lot of smaller countries that are around the Caspian Sea that produce caviar, Kazakhstan and different type of countries, and each had their own specificities. Nowadays, since everything is farm raised, it's much better on the sustainable point of view. We can control much better the water quality, the food, and everything that comes into the life of a sturgeon. And it's been the transition between wild and farmers was a little difficult at first, but my father kind of saw it coming, and we were one of the first to make a partnership with a farm in US. And it was great for a long time, and we stopped a little bit working with this farm in particular. We had different point of view on the caviar process and different quality.
When was that transition? I mean, when did it transition from wild-caught sturgeon to farm-raised?
I would say around 2007.
Oh, that's recent.
It's not that far back. 2007, 2000. Maybe 2008,
yeah.
And the farmers caviar had a lot of work to do to become this beautiful caviar that we know today, and we worked very closely with all the farms that we've been getting our caviar with, and now the caviar. I mean, I would say there is almost no difference between what we used to get as a wild caviar and now what we get as a farm-raised caviar.
So what percentage is farm-raised versus wild-caught today? Is it 100% farm-raised?
100% farm-raised. 100% farm-raised.
And that transaction happened all within the last decade?
Yeah. Nowadays, the biggest producer of caviar is the Chinese, believe it or not, and the Chinese caviar, we'll see it a little later. It's absolutely amazing. The Israeli caviar is great. The American caviar is great also. We've worked with a farm that does Osetra for the past couple of years, and it's absolutely amazing quality. And the pleasure with being in caviar is that there's a lot of countries that produce caviar, so we kind of pick and choose where we want it, how we want it, how great we want it. And of course, the quality is based on price. So the better it is, the more expensive it is. And that's how our caviar is always a little more expensive than the competition, because we want to get the great caviar, and everything has a cost.
Yeah, and one of the things that makes Petrossian quite unique is not only the sourcing, but you guys age your caviar.
We do. We mature the caviar. We do, and that's where the grades come from. So a classic would be the younger caviar, and a special reserve would be the more mature caviar. And the more you mature caviar, the more you develop flavors.
Okay.
It doesn't play anything on texture, on color, on anything like this. It's just about the flavor. And the more you wait, the more the flavor develops, and the more the caviar is enjoyable.
So how much, talk to me a little bit about kind of the price range of caviar. So, what's the entry point, how much is someone consuming, and then kind of where does it go?
So an entry point for a couple that wants to have their first experience in caviar, I would recommend between 30 grams and 50 grams, so an ounce, a little over an ounce. And it's way enough for a couple to kind of start the experience. I would go for a younger caviar because it's not too strong in flavor. It's easier to enjoy, and I would start by this, and I would start by maybe a Dorinki or maybe a classic Osetra, maybe something like this that would really start you up on the caviar experience. And then what I would recommend for your next try is to take 2 different caviar, kind of see the difference, and then take 3 and then take 4, and really see and try for your own which one is your own preference.
But a 125 gram tin is actually quite large.
It is quite large.
Really for a couple, if it's just you and your wife or you and a good friend, 50 grams is plenty.
It's plenty. And even 30 grams for a first time experience is plenty enough.
Yeah.
125, it's more like if you wanted to, you and your wife to do a dinner all around caviar, then you would go for 125. Otherwise, you know, for an appetizer or for a little bit cocktail, things like this, I would take, you know, 125 for 4 or 5 people. Yeah. It depends really what you want to do with your caviar. Nowadays, caviar is either you enjoy it straight out of the tin, which is my favorite way, just, you know, straight with a mono-pearl spoon. That's it. A lot of people enjoy it with little blinis or enjoy it with a little crème fraîche, which, you know, I have nothing against, but it's not my personal preference. What I don't recommend is to use capers and onion and eggs. That was historically what they used to do in Russia, because the recipe of caviar was very different than what it is today. Back in the days, it was a lot more salted than it is today. Today, it's salted between 3 to 5%, so it's not a big amount of salt. So you don't need anything to remove this kind of very salty flavor. And a good mature caviar, you shouldn't actually feel the salt. That's why we mature the caviar.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, you know, all those other elements are just taking away from the flavor of the caviar, right? So you're not really seeing, you know, that natural kind of flavor profile, because of everything else around it.
It really is, and the big difference, I think, with, you know, having it like this is you can really feel the eggs. You can really feel the sensual play with the caviar, those little eggs that rolls on your palate, that rolls on your tongue. It's a very satisfying experience. It's really.
Yeah, it's very sensory. I mean,
it is.
Sensual.
It is very sensual. And all your senses come into play with the caviar. The smell, the touch, the flavor, of course. It really plays with all your senses.
Well, one of the things that, you know, that I've experienced, because I've had the great privilege of enjoying some caviar, you know, thank you, is, you know, I was really surprised by how rich it is. And it goes back to the consumption quantity where, you know, caviar is this great kind of experience. It accompanies a special moment. Mm-hmm. And I think that you know, knowing that you don't need to consume a lot of volume, you know, kind of helped me understand that I didn't need to buy, you know, a 125 gram tin that was going to cost several $100s.
No.
You know, that for as little as $100 or $150, I could get a nice 50 gram tin, you know, to enjoy with my wife, and with some champagne and, you know, some cheese and some music, you know, was an entire evening in and of itself.
It is, and it brings people together. You know, if you want to kind of do a particular experience with your loved one at home, it's easy to open a tin of caviar, 2 spoons, a little champagne, and you kind of have your evening planned already. Yeah. And if you don't want to do caviar first, you can start by salmon roe, you can start by trout roe, you can start by. There's a lot of different ways to enjoy your caviar. You can even do like a caviar cream, which is the 20% caviar, so the price is very reasonable. You have a lot of different ways to enjoy your caviar, and you should never be afraid or ashamed to order a small tin. That's where we all start, you know, a small tin, and then you grow it as your love for it grows, you know.
Yeah,
you get addicted to it.
Yeah, you do. I mean, and again, it just goes back to kind of that experience of kind of savoring the moment. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like a good cigar, I always say, is a commitment to a space of time. Mm-hmm. Right, so it's less about the cigar; it's more about the time that you're committing yourself to.
Exactly.
Because that's what
there's no rushing it.
That's what you're going to remember, and you know, with caviar, it's much the same, and it's one of my favorite things to give as a gift because, again, you don't have to spend much money, you don't have to send a large quantity, but it's so rare for someone to receive caviar. Yeah, yeah. You know, it comes in this special packaging with its ice packs and everything, and you know, I mean, in terms of
people don't expect it.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those gifts that always gets everybody surprised.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can be as rich as you want or as reasonable as you want, and the person you're giving it to is always going to be surprised by it.
Well, it doesn't have to be incredibly expensive either.
It doesn't.
You know,
and
that I think was one of the big surprises for me is that,
yeah.
you know, again for corporate gifts, you know, some of our good clients, you know, we'll send, $125, $150 worth of caviar, and there's never been a person that just wasn't totally blown away.
It's
because it's easy to give a bottle of wine, but it's also ordinary to give a bottle of wine.
And it's hard to choose a bottle of wine. Some people prefer white, some people prefer red, some people like their wine very French, some people don't. I think it's hard to give champagne or wine. I think it's way easier for caviar.
Yeah,
way easier.
Totally agree. It's way safer, in my opinion.
Exactly.
I mean, unless they just don't eat fish, that's the only.
Then you're out of luck. You need to change websites because if you're allergic to rose or fish, and I'm so sorry for your allergy, and there's nothing Petrossian can offer.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm wrong. We do a lot of sweets. We do a lot of jams and teas. And,
the catalog. I mean, you've got, I think, one of the best catalogs. The Petrossian catalog is, kind of one of my favorite things to be on the mailing list. I get it a few times a year.
Exactly.
It's always got this beautiful photograph. But you're right. I mean, you guys have expanded beyond just caviar and have become, purveyors of just fine accoutrement as far as food is concerned, and you guys have charcuterie and candies and macarons and some of the best pastries. Although you have to come to New York to enjoy those.
We have a nice bakery. I love those pastries. That's one of the reasons why I'm a little overweight because of all the
I blame pastries. It's a good thing I don't live in New York. Otherwise, I would probably have even more of a problem. So you've been running the U.S. business for 8 years now.
For a little less than 8 years. I wanted to see every part of our business, so I wanted to spend time in the restaurant, I wanted to spend time in the boutique, I wanted to kind of understand what was the difference between our customers in New York and our customers in Paris, and there's no better ways than to work in the retail and kind of do it on a day-to-day basis.
Is there a difference between the customers, an American customer and a Parisian? French?
I don't think so. A lot of people think so. I don't. I think it's two big cities, and there is people are as rushed in New York that they are in Paris, and I do think the New Yorkers are a little bit nicer, have a little bit more of a nicer tone and nicer ways. But Parisians are great also. But that's why I live in New York. I love New York. I love New Yorkers. I love New York, and I wouldn't see myself living anywhere else.
So someone that doesn't have the luxury of visiting the boutique in New York or visiting the boutique in Paris, what is the best way for them to kind of learn about caviar and to have someone kind of help them through that selection process?
Well, we have a couple of others retail outlets. If you live in LA or if you live in Texas, there is a couple of options. In Texas, we have one of our great retailers that worked with us for a very long time, that sells Petrossian Caviar. You know about it. You've been there.
Central Market.
Exactly. Yeah. You've been there and they're absolutely great, and they do a great job of caring for our caviar. We have a store in LA that does everything that the store in New York does. The store in New York, of course. We have a little outlet in LAX. And we have a beautiful piano bar restaurant in Las Vegas, in the Bellagio. And otherwise, there is the website that would ship wherever you are in the US. Next day, you order before 3 or before 4, and you'll have your product the next day. The website is very well done. It's very professional. You have a lot of people here to help to do your selection, because it's always a little hard online to see which caviar would prefer. So there's the caviar concierge that you can call or you can chat with, and they really will guide you, help you to do your selection. And it's the website, I think, is the easiest way to buy caviar. The only problem with the website is you need to be able to trust 100% the website you're ordering from, especially in food, I think. So regardless of buying at Petrossian or somewhere else, always do it on the website you trust. You can return. You have options, and I think it's very important.
Because the storage of caviar is incredibly important, just in terms of refrigeration.
It is. It can't be at more than a certain temperature, otherwise the eggs kind of burst, and you kind of get this kind of soupy caviar. And the best way is to keep it in the meat side of your refrigerator, which is around 2 degrees Celsius, which is absolutely perfect.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect. Any other things that someone that's buying caviar should watch out for? Because again, there's a big variation in kind of quality and provenance.
There is. If you go to a retail store, you should always ask to try your caviar. So if you buy a 50 gram, ask them to open the tin for you. Try a couple of the eggs out. It doesn't need to be a lot. Try a couple of eggs, have them close it back up for you. So you know 100% what caviar you're getting. Don't be fooled by getting the caviar that they have on the back, special for testing, and then they kind of sell you something else. Ask to try the caviar you're actually buying. That's my first advice. And then go to someone you trust. Go to a company you trust, and if you trust them, they'll be fine. So the reason why you should go to someone you trust is so you have options if you don't like the merchandise, and you should trust Petrossian more than others because we have our name on it. We stand 100% with the product we sell because our brand is the only great thing we have. If you don't trust a brand, then the brand is worthless.
Well, at the end of the day, it's still a family-owned and run company.
It is. Completely family-owned, and so I'd rather, being out of caviar than to have something I'm not proud of. If I'm not proud of it, I'm not selling it.
Because you're always at the office, in Long Island, and your wife Hélène, manages the boutique, and
my dad is still, running all of us.
I think I ran into your mother at the boutique in Paris.
Exactly. 100% family-owned. Everybody works. Everybody is happy to be here, even if being in the family business, there's the up and down. But overall, working with family is always great. Always great.
Absolutely.
You're more free. You can speak your mind. Sometimes you have bigger fights than if you were with your employee. But that's where I think the great idea comes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
This little difference of opinion that
Well, and I think with the family-owned business, you still have the latitude to make decisions that aren't purely financial because of a commitment to a family name.
That's true. That's true.
So, one of the stories that I kind of love is, kind of how we met.
Exactly.
Right. So, I actually first saw the idea of giving caviar as a gift through Nick Sullivan, who is the fashion director at Esquire magazine.
Yeah.
So, I saw this photograph on Instagram of this Petrossian caviar basket, and I said, that's incredible. Who wouldn't love to receive caviar? So I started giving, Petrossian caviar, as gifts to, some, really good clients or some very special vendors.
Before we ever
met. Yes.
Yeah.
And then, one day, I'm there, in the office, and, I always am reviewing the orders that come in, and I see an order for shoe polish come in from an Alexander Petrossian in New York City. And I said, what are the chances? I mean, I immediately recognized that name. So, I saw your order come across, and I said, this is too small of a world. So I put in a note, just, saying how much I appreciated your caviar, and I think I threw in a few little surprises.
You did.
And, I had no idea that, we were so similar in age and had so many overlapping interests.
And so many, same passion for, beautiful shoes and, lifestyle choice that I learn from your video every day, and it's absolutely
and
great.
And it just goes back to, I think, with these with these products of passion, whether it's shoes or tailoring or cigars or caviar or wine, hangers. I mean, the people that are passionate about that share so many interests. And getting together with people who share passions is the best. And a good friend of mine in Paris who actually wrote the Goyard brand book. Whenever I bought that book, he gave me a print, and on the back he had an inscription that just really struck me. And he said, passion is the greatest luxury of all.
It's true.
And
I love this one. I love that.
You know, sharing passion with someone and, you know, being able to just enjoy that moment is incredible. And I think, you know, we've, you know, been able to, you know, enjoy caviar together. We've been able to enjoy cigars together. And
the only thing we haven't done yet is to shine a pair of shoes together.
Yeah, which we're going to do today.
Exactly. I'm super
really excited about it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So anyone that's interested in kind of learning more about caviar or kind of following you, I mean, you guys have an incredible catalog that, you know, is just a pleasure to receive. You know, you can sign up for that online.
Yep. There's a website. We have a very nice Instagram account. It's Petrossian New York for the American side, and it's Petrossian for the French side. Yeah. We have a small YouTube channel that we kind of starting to build right now, with different how-to video, how to open a tin, how to serve it, and a couple of videos like this. And we have also the Caviar concierge that you can call, and they will share with you any caviar stories or what to choose or how to choose it.
Yeah, they're really there to kind of help
yes.
answer any questions.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I mean, if anyone's in New York, you know,
pass by the boutique.
The boutique is...
Pass by the boutique. One of our caviar associates will definitely open a couple of tins for you. Have you tried different caviars? You don't have to buy anything, just, you know, for the fun of it.
Yeah.
You know, come in, try some caviar, and maybe we'll get you hooked, and you'll be a customer for life, or maybe, you know,
you just try some caviar.
Yeah, exactly.
Win-win.
What's the worst can happen?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and you guys have one of the best French bakeries in all of New York City.
I think so, for sure. I mean, now, you know, it's very, very Parisian. So the croissants are very buttery, very heavy. Some people love it, some people don't. But you know, it's like.
But it's difficult to find a proper French croissant that is crispy and flaky and.
You know, to me, a good croissant is, you know, you should have flakes all over your suit, all over your thighs.
Yeah.
You know,
have to wash your hands afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good croissant. You know, if it doesn't crumble on you, to me, it missed something.
And you guys have a small breakfast and lunch menu too, so you know it's a great place to just kind of drop in. I mean, you're just a few blocks south of Central Park.
Yeah. You can have some bagels, some smoked salmon, some caviar. You can have just the pastries, sitting down with a nice coffee. You know, it's very open. There is not a lot of tables, but it's very friendly. It's very family-like. It's a small shop.
It's not intimidating at all.
No, nothing formal. Nothing. You know, you can come in shorts and t-shirt. No one will look at you weird. It's a very simple shop. Yeah. Very simple. Very simple.
Great. Hey, well, Alex, you know, thank you so much.
No,
for your
my
time.
pleasure, Kirby. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
I appreciate you kind of sharing, you know, your passion and kind of family history with us.
That's the only thing you don't need me to ask. You know, sharing my passion. You know, you plug me into it, and I'll talk for hours.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, and please subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications by clicking the bell to the right of the subscribe button so that you can learn whenever we release new videos. If you have any questions or comments about anything we discussed on this video, please ask them in the comments section below. And of course, please visit hangerproject.com, where we have the largest, most comprehensive collection of luxury garment care and shoe care accessories in the world, as well as many other incredible products for the well-dressed. And while you are there, subscribe to our newsletter to receive notifications of new product launches, promotions, as well as a weekly digest of all the videos we publish here on our